everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Flagler County. So, I have an episode not normally in my home where I'm normally set up. We have a different setup today. We are here courtesy of Win Mortgage. Thank you so much to all the amazing people here. I'll put all the information in the description so people can check them out. They're a really great company here on Flagler Beach. So they have a beautiful studio. I can't show all of it, but I'm really, really grateful that I'm here and I get to interview JR kind of again, part two to this. So JR, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to learn and kind of share with everyone what you're doing, how you're helping people, because I remember when you shared it with me a few weeks ago over the phone, I was really moved by it. So I'm just really excited to learn more about it, but also really spread the awareness so that people know that you guys are even doing this. So again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Of course. So do you want to share a little bit? So we did a prior episode where you talked a little bit about his consulting company, but we're going to talk a little bit about something else now. So why don't you share a little bit about coming to Flagler, but more importantly, bringing this kind of ministry to Flagler?
Okay. So appreciate the opportunity to share. So as a minister, for 12 years, I was a church planner, and that is somebody that basically starts a work from the ground up. Most of us go to churches where they basically been established for a long time. We don't know what it takes. So, my wife and I left Ohio in 2010 approximately, and, landed in Portland with our 1-year-old son, who's now 15 now. And then in the process, we have 11-year-old now that was born in 2012. But we started the church in Portland, Oregon. It's the most unchurched city in America, 70%. And they needed a church. And so we basically just said yes to the calling and loved on that city for 12 years and poured our lives into it. I worked full time. And what we find out is that, if you are new to ministry, you don't have a team, you're working full time, you have children, there's a lot of demands in our society today. And so over time, I unfortunately experienced burnout, severe burnout, and not only once, but on 3 occasions at least. And each time it became worse, and I experienced severe depression, anxiety, and a lot of shame that came with that. And then health problems that led to more health problems. So I landed in Flagler with my wife and my kids, who I'll be celebrating 22 years here in June with my wife, Cassie, who works for Gentiva Hospice, by the way. And she's a gift to my life, and definitely my helpmeet, my best half. Anyways, shout out to her. She'll be happy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I came here for healing. I came here to find relief and our family to heal. So we looked for a local church. We found a place with a beach and sun, and definitely all changes of Portland. They don't have beaches and they don't have sun too much in Portland, but they have a lot of great mountains, rivers, and lakes and stuff. But it's a very, very different, dark city in its own way, spiritually and politically and whatever it is. But there's a lot of good things that we miss about it. But so about 5 years ago, my wife had a kind of like a vision or a burden, and she wrote it on paper, and it's called Refresh. And so I just basically took it and renamed it the United Refresh Network, and we're basically incorporating actually this week here in the state of Florida, and we're getting our exemption filed so that we can receive donations backdated to this coming week. And so Bright Bridge, a company down in Florida, is helping us do that.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of great teammates around me that are doing a lot of great things. But in essence, what we're doing is not just in Flagler, but nationwide eventually. We're going to be bringing remediation for pastors and ministers, not just pastors, but ministers, their wives and or their children, the whole family. And what we want to do is basically offer resources that my wife and I and our family didn't have, free of charge.
Mm-hmm.
So what'll happen is they're experiencing burnout or pre-burnout. They're going to reach out to stopministryburnout.com, which is not yet established, but they're going to be able to do that and tell us that they're experiencing it. Fill out an intake. We have psychologists, we have counselors, we have people in like 6 different states right now, and then we're going to basically give them counseling. We're going to get them coaching. We're going to get them mentorship. We're actually going to take care of their pay. We're gonna take care of their work pay if they're working bivocationally. We're gonna get them volunteers to come in their church and do what they do. And so we have a team of volunteers, that's the network. And then we also have a network of Airbnbs, HomeAways that we're gathering right now, where people can go and get a retreat and get taken care of. So we're gonna zoom in our doctors, our psychologists gonna basically be able to diagnose where they're at and what stage they are in burnout. And then we're gonna give all the resources, pay for travel, food, lodging, childcare, if that's necessary. And medical intervention is even available as a referral to the Apostolic Healthcare International, a partnership that we actually have with 2 doctors. And so they're gonna basically take care of the pastor and minister if it's a physical need as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we do.
That's
That's what we're
awesome.
planning on doing.
That's so great. And I'm so glad that you touched on the burnout that you experienced. And also, I want to say, touching on the severity of it. I think for those who, like, they've not experienced it, or maybe they haven't, experienced it yet, or something like that. Or maybe they've experienced like some type of sadness, but maybe that wasn't it. I think it's easy for us to discount other people's feelings. It's like, oh, well, burnout is just like you don't want to work anymore. It's like, no, it's definitely a lot more than that. Like you mentioned, it was a lot of like depression and anxiety, and it starts not affecting just your work, but your entire life. And so I'm so glad you guys also have resources for not just like a few things at work that people are dealing with, but the whole 9 yards, and really working on giving them that support system that you even mentioned the feeling of shame that people just sometimes are embarrassed to talk about. And I know a lot of men maybe specifically feel a little bit of shame when they feel these like dark thoughts of like, well, I'm not supposed to have these. It's like, well, that's not how the feelings work. It's not how our brain works. Our brains don't discriminate based off if you're a guy or a girl.
Sure,
um
sure.
so you guys have such a network, and you guys are continuing to build it up in 6 states already is so incredible that you guys are so dedicated to it, and you still have your consulting company. So that's awesome. If people want to learn a little bit more, I think you mentioned a little bit about volunteers, which is the network part of it. What are some ways that maybe people can get involved, learn more about, dedicate even a little bit of time or a lot of time or whatever that may be?
Sure. Well, number one, we need prayer.
Mm,
We're gonna do test dating, so test dates will be available. We definitely need some prayer. We definitely need people to give. So ministries, just, why ministries? Why are we starting there? 70% of our ministers today are bivocational,
mm,
and the statistics tell us they're working over 60 hours plus. That doesn't include the hours they're awake at night, worrying about somebody going through divorce, somebody with cancer diagnosis, somebody in the hospital, somebody struggling with drugs or alcohol. The minister is bombarded with these things. And it's not just the minister, it's the minister's wife, the children are involved. It's a whole team effort, right? And so why are ministers filled with shame? I wouldn't say it's a little bit of shame. I'd say it's much more deeper than that. I'd say, at certain points, again, we're defining what that is. There's levels, there's a mild, there's a moderate, there's a severe, and there's a crisis. And so we're defining all those right now with our director of psychology, counseling, and coaching. He's a psychologist in Illinois, and he's a licensed minister as well. And so, we're trying to find out what we're going to do and how long is that going to take to help them. And so we're defining those processes right now, and we're looking forward to launching and helping 5 people by the end of this year. We're gonna try to help 5 families.
yeah.
The reason why they won't reach out, the reason why they're filled with shame, at least what I was, is because as a minister, you're looked at in the community, you're looked at as a leader, that you're supposed to have your stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you don't, the moment you don't have answers, the moment you don't feel like getting out of bed, moment you've lost your complete zeal, you break down crying or whatever those symptoms are that you're going through emotionally, it's time to reach out for help. It's time to know that you're not alone. It's time to know that, there's hope. We have such a cloud, I guess, right? I mean, it's a cloud. It hangs over people,
Mm-hmm.
and my passion, my wife's passion, our team's passion, which includes over 35 people across the nation that are well qualified, either ministers or counselors or marriage counselors or teen counselors, or coaches. We have a fantastic group of amazing people that are willing to step up and help the ministry. So you can get involved by, donating a home away or Airbnb. If you own a property on a beach or on a golf course or in a desert or lake or river, you can donate that property for a certain amount of weeks and say, you know what, I want to donate that to Refresh, and we'll give you a receipt. You can basically turn that as a tax write-off if you want to. You're going to help ministers, you're going to help marriages, what we find out is when they get burned out completely, like they avoid because of shame. We want to remove that shame. I want to remove that cloud. That's what United Refresh Network is all about. We want to give those resources confidentially. They can reach out. Nobody needs to know. But we got a team of people that have all hit the wall,
Yeah,
all burned out,
yeah,
all have a passion and burden for this. They're not doing it for income. They're not doing it because they're trying to make a dollar. We're trying to save marriages, children, families, churches, and cities all.
Yeah.
Because when that pastor leaves, there's 40, there's 60, there's 150 people that are broken. It's not just the family. So we bring in those resources to minister to that church. Why the minister and his wife and family are getting away at a retreat and zooming in the help we can, and then the mentorship afterwards to give them the friendships and relationships to take them through to get them out of the complete stages to where they are operating at their calling and their fullness
yeah.
for their family, first of all, for the kingdom of God, and for their city.
Definitely. Yeah, I even had a gentleman who came on the podcast a little while ago, and he shared he did his church planting down in Orlando, and it was, he described the journey, and he's even described it to us off the call as well. And it's a lot. I think for us, like I've been going to established churches, most of my life, and we forget how much work that is. There's being responsible for all of these different departments. I know the church that I go to, Parkview here in Palm Coast, they're going through major changes, major developments.
Mm.
Like I help out every other weekend with the 3-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
I used to do the 2 and 3-year-olds, but then we moved to a 3-year-old room, and now we're in a different 3-year-old room. So these are like the types of things that
Sure.
we as churchgoers, we don't always see, and we kind of forget that, oh, like someone had to make that executive decision to split up the rooms.
Sure.
Someone had to make that decision to change the rooms. Someone has to make the decision now, like one of the doors that we have for the 3-year-old room, it's not good for the 3-year-old, so now we have to get a new door. I was like, okay, so someone now has to go out and find the door that makes sense and do all the things that make sense. And it's a lot. So I'm so glad that you guys have that network, and you guys are so passionate about sharing it, that people can reach out and, confidential, like you mentioned, just for that support. We're never too, what's the word? I would say we're never too, I don't know, big to, I think, ask for help is maybe the word I'm looking for.
That's right.
Because when we look at the Bible, it always talks about the community, right? And having other people help each other and all of
Sure.
these things, all their sayings, and there's no I in team or Rome was there shouldn't be, but we know there is shame when it comes to reaching out and having that support. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that, and you guys are so passionate about sharing it. So I'm so honored that you came on. You shared a little bit about what you guys are doing and how hopefully this can be even just a little bit helpful in spreading that out. So definitely, you guys are in my prayers, and I appreciate the time today, JR. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of great things, so I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Of course, and to everyone listening, I really appreciate you as well. I'll have all of the things that he mentioned in the description. People can click on that a little bit easier. And again, huge shout out to Win Mortgage for letting me use their beautiful space over here. So thanks you again. I really appreciate you, and I will see you next time.